Hi guys, today's video is going to be part one of, I'm not 100% sure how many parts yet, maybe 4 of my Best of 2015 series. Previously I've tried to make them kind of one video and do like top 10 or top 20 or whatever it might be. But this year I wanted to really break it down category by category and make it more bite-sized. So I've gone back and forth. It was going to be high-end, low-end and all that stuff. Although as we go through you may kind of pick out the high-end. I didn't feel like I had enough of that for one video. I felt like it was still mostly budget friendly. More categories will be like heavier on that than others, but it's just going to be like my genuine real favourites. So I'm going to pick the thing from that category that really is the best rather than give you a budget and a high-end version. I'm going to tell you the thing that was really my favourite. So I've done some planning. At a glance you might get an idea of why this might be so many videos, because there's a lot of stuff I want to cover. The first video is going to be all base, and this was really difficult. I really tried to narrow down. I went through all my last year's favourites videos, all my 2015 favourites videos, went through all of them, picking and choosing what I felt like throughout the year I'd still used. So I was really surprised with some of these products that I've been using them all year, and some of them are newer than I expected, so that's quite interesting as well. But the favourites videos definitely helped out here, and if you feel like I've spoken a lot about something and I've missed it off, please feel free to put it in the comments. So often I'll make like a best of or a top 10 and someone will go, I can't believe you didn't mention this, and I totally forgot something like super major I definitely would have included if I'd remembered it. So please feel free to leave those in the comments. But we're going to kick off with primer, and I'm already falling here because where is the primer? I was going to mention the Gosh Prime and Perfect, was it called? I've got it written down somewhere. Prime and Set powder. If you remember way back at the beginning of the year, I did a whole video about this powder. And I don't know if it's with the move or when I decluttered all of my makeup a couple of months ago, but I cannot find it. And I think part of the reason for that is that I stopped using it. Now, I want to mention it because it is still, to this day, the best thing that I've ever found for keeping me matte. Just the absolute best product that I've ever used to keep my skin matte and oil-free all day. Absolutely incredible. However, it really did have a negative impact on my skin. Really dried me out. I left me with actual dry patches of skin. Bearing in mind that I'm oily enough to have been using this product, it wasn't really what I wanted. So it was something I saved for very special occasions where I knew that I wasn't going to be wanting to touch up my makeup throughout the day, or maybe I was going to be kind of, it was a customer facing situation or something like that, something where I was going to be on show is what I really want to say, all day long, but that I wasn't going to feel comfortable taking a compact and retouching my powder. So really very few occasions when I would use that product, but it was very effective. I've used lots of things in the past. Even milk of magnesia, I made a video about that once upon a time, which is apparently quite dangerous, but that was the absolute best thing I've ever used. But I want to mention it, but at the same time it comes with a bit of a warning, because I raved and raved about it, and then later, after using it for maybe 2 or 3 days in a row, I had really bad side effects. So very effective. The only primer this year that I would say I really enjoyed using, but unfortunately I'm not using it anymore. So I know that's kind of a, should I have mentioned it, but I still feel like I should. Foundation, Estee Lauder Double Wear. I started the year with the Estee Lauder Double Wear Light, and I still really like that. And I ended up buying the original Double Wear because the light in my colour was out of stock. I think I'm Intensity 1.0 or 0.5. I think I'm 1.0 in Double Wear Light, and I'm Bone, which always gives me a giggle, in regular Double Wear. And I thought this was going to be too heavy. I think they're about the same price, give or take £1 or £2. Thought it was going to be too heavy. I picked it up just because I will really run out and I needed some more. So I thought I'll try it and then I can compare the two. But I really like this one. The Double Wear Light's okay. I don't feel like I got as much out of the bottle or the tube as I've had out of this. I used a very little amount of this and it blends beautifully. Lots of people say that it doesn't, but it does on my skin. And it's not cakey, it's not heavy, it's not thick, but it lasts all day and can be a beautiful finish. Fairly good oil control, but it's the longevity of the finish and the actual coverage of the foundation. Brilliant, my absolute favourite. Still very sad that I can't get my Revlon Colour Stay in the original formula. That was something that for years I would rave about, and I said there was no point in getting this one because the Revlon Colour Stay was so good and it was a fraction of the price. They changed the formula and it's not the same anymore. It's full of silicone, just sits on my skin. It used to be basically the same thing for me, and it's not anymore. So those of you that have kind of been long time watchers, that's the reason that I never talk about colour stay anymore, because it's not the same. I've tried lots of different products, lots of different foundations this year, lots of foundations that I've enjoyed, but none as much as Double Wear. So if you'd like me to do kind of a top 10 foundations video as a follow-up, I'll do that for you so you can see some different ones that I'd like to different price points, but that had to be the winner in that category. Concealer. This had to be the winner here. I think 2 or 3 years this has been the winner for me. It's the Instant Age Rewind from Maybelline. I have this in the regular, and I also have somewhere, I know I have it because I used it today. You just can't see it out. Oh, there it is. I have the brightening version. I'm not sure you can get the brightening version in the UK, but you can probably find it on Amazon. I'll look, if I can find it, I'll link below. So this one's the regular Age Eraser, or Age Rewind, the Eraser Eye. And this one, Eraser Dark Circles, and it says it's a treatment concealer, so whether or not it really helps, I don't know. But I like both of them. This is more brightening, but very, very thin. It's a strange thing because I know lots of people say that this falls into their dark lines. They're fine lines and they don't like it. I really, really like this product. That being said, I have been avoiding that area of my face for all concealer products because I feel like I've got so many fine lines suddenly. I just do kind of there, little bit of brightness there, and avoid the rest of it. I feel like the Double Wear really helps me not have to put on too much of a heavy product around the rest of my face for blemishes and things like that. Moving on, I think I have one powder that I want to talk about. I feel like I'll talk about 2 just because it was a real toss-up. I find it difficult to kind of say, oh, these are my favourite powders, because so many powders for me do exactly the same thing. The H&M mattifying powder is great. Really, really, really finely milled, beautiful texture, and brilliant if you want to top up. It's not going to make you cakey throughout the day. If you're already oily and you want to touch up your makeup, this is fantastic. Something that I really like alongside my Double Wear, these 2 together are fantastic. This is the Superstay 24 from Maybelline. Love this, but it oxidizes, and so if I do get particularly oily, it looks darker and it starts to look orange, and the colour changes, which is not what I want at all. So in theory, I love this. The coverage stays all day. It definitely locks in my foundation all that more, like all that better. It helps to lock in my foundation if I'm wearing things that maybe don't last all day. And it also does add a little bit of coverage if I'm wanting a little bit of extra something. But when I do get oily, the colour does change. So if you're not oily, that might be great for you, but it's something that I don't use as often these days. This is my go-to at the moment. I don't love the packaging. I've talked about it before. It's very cheap and flimsy. I mean, I really, really like the products, and I will do an update on the H&M makeup. I know people have been asking. I've definitely got some standout favourites, but on the whole, the packaging really is lacking. I have 2 oh no, wait, we'll do blushes. I have a blush palette and a blush single. The blush single is from Burberry. If you watch my, what was it called, Disappointing Products video earlier this year, you will know that I bought a ton of Burberry products for me. You know, I bought like 4 or 5 or something at the same time and was massively disappointed. The lipstick bled horribly. I wore it again recently. So disappointed. I just thought I'll try it again and see how it is. No, it was horrible. And I'll probably give that to someone and see if they can get on better with it than me, because it was just really, really awful. The eyeshadows just weren't enough for me. I've considered maybe getting one of the singles and seeing how they compare, because sometimes the singles and the palettes are different. I know that they are supposed to be a sheer wash of colour, but I just didn't see the point in 4 different colours that didn't really show up as much at all for the price. It was insane. But the blushes are absolutely out of this world. My favourite blush formula possibly that I've ever tried. So creamy and so blendable. Very, very matte. I mean, there's a really, really strong scent of rose, and I'm not a rose scented kind of person, but the more I use these, the more I'm coming around to it. It's a very, very authentic rose scent. It's not synthetic at all. I do quite like it actually now. I feel like, who am I? But the whole thing of this was not only the pigmentation, which obviously you can get from anything. The pigmentation was great, but it blends. I've never known something, you know, when you accidentally put too much blusher on and you're like, what am I going to do now? And you're like frantically blending and trying to get rid of it. This is like, it blends like it's a cream, but it's not a cream. It has to be seen to be believed, and it's just had to be included. It is expensive. I think it's £29-ish, but it's beautiful. I don't think maybe you need more than one, although I am really tempted by the earthy shade, which is kind of a neutral brownish shade that I could do this kind of It looks really orange on camera right now, what I've done. But a kind of slight contoury blush. Tempting. Beautiful, beautiful blush. The blush palette is not actually a blush palette at all, it's a contour palette. It's the Revolution, which is scratched up, the Revolution Ultra Contour Palette. I spoke a lot about this year. I thought something had cracked then, it sounded like it had. Yeah, I spoke a lot about this year. The main reason was for this colour. And Charles, if you're watching this, who hopefully, my friend Charles, she's called Ginger Girl Says, I'll link her blog below. Hopefully she's coming to YouTube soon, hopefully. But she spoke a lot about the Fashionista blush, New York. If you remember, again, throwback, I used to go on and on about that, and she'd said that she was coming to the end of hers, and I said this is a really good dupe. Not quite as pink, but just the same kind of texture and just that sheen. I love that sheen. So beautiful. It's not going to show up, is it? But it just is so nice. And I love that so much. I used that one. I used the palest contour, which I think is this one or maybe that one, and I used that one a lot. I tried to do kind of a contour with this, this and this. I kind of stayed away from the other colours, but that was my blush palette. I'm not big on very, very bold colours, as you can see. This was called Cameo, by the way. I didn't even tell you. And that's really quite pigmented, but it's, again, not particularly bold. And lastly, I think we've got to the end, is highlight. I'm not going into proper contour, I'm not going into proper bronzer, because I don't really do either of those things. If I do, it's every now and then and I'll just reach for whatever's in the drawer. I don't really have a, oh my god, I have to have this, if it runs out I have to buy it again. Don't have a real favourite, so I'm not going to include that segment in this. But again, Makeup Revolution, Radiance palette. As you know, if you've watched for a while, I have the Radiance palette, I also have the Hourglass. I'm going to compare the two for you now, actually, since I know I have it to hand. Here we go. So I got the Radiance palette, I don't know, I think probably before this year. And then the Hourglass palette was given to me for my birthday at the beginning of this year, and I didn't use the Hourglass palette for months, maybe till the summertime, because I'd been using this one, and I kind of wanted to save it, not because I didn't want it, not because I didn't like it, it was a gift and I was very grateful, but I already liked this one and I kind of just wanted to save it because it was so beautiful and it was expensive. It's one of those things that sometimes when you have something very, very expensive, you never use it. I've got some limited edition blush and stuff that I've barely ever used. Some gorgeous stuff that I definitely should make use of, but you just don't want to mess it up. And that's how I felt about this. So I started using them, and honestly, for me, I'm very grateful for the palette that was given to me for my birthday, and I love it. You know, I've used it. You can see there's some craters in there. I love it. And I mean, when it comes to travel, this is quite small. It's light as well. I'd still take it with me. I really like this. Not saying I wouldn't buy one of these individual ones. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, for the difference in money, this wins. It's just not that much better to get the Hourglass one to justify the difference in price. The difference in price is absolutely huge, and although it's beautiful and they're so finely milled and the powders are so blah blah blah, it's not good enough. It's not better enough to justify the difference in price. So it's great that I've got both and that I can compare the two, but if both of them disappeared, I'd repurchase this one. I've mentioned that a lot, and people kind of took offence at the fact that I seem to be ungrateful for having the Hourglass one. Not at all. I just want to give you the most comprehensive kind of comparison that I can and be totally honest with you, and I wouldn't purchase the Hourglass one again. If, you know, if it came to money, if I wanted to treat myself, I'd buy the Hourglass one. If I wanted to treat myself, I'd buy one of the individual Hourglass ones. I particularly like, and this is kind of a segue, particularly like the left one. I don't know what it's called. Radiant Light, I think it is. This one. That's the bronzery colour that I don't use too much. That's a really high shine highlight, and that one you can use all over your face. Radiant Light, I would buy that in a single because I love it. But very, very similar product from Freedom, Ambient Pro Highlight. Again, I've spoken a lot about this one. Let's see how they actually compare. I don't know whether or not they are supposed to be the same thing, you know. Oh, that's the bronzy one, I don't want that. So they look like that. And again, it's impossible to really, that's insane. It's impossible to really see a swatch of this kind of thing because it's not supposed to be much of anything. But honestly, the difference, it's not different enough. if you were budgeting. If you want to treat yourself, the Hourglass stuff is absolutely beautiful. Packaging's gorgeous. Everything about it is really, really lovely. But if you're on a budget, don't feel bad because you can only afford this one, because this one is practically as good. I love this. I use this all the time. It's like dying a death already. So, we've ended on a little bit of a mega revolution high there. That is my face category covered off. There's all of my kind of base products that I absolutely couldn't go the end of the year without telling you I absolutely loved. The things that I would repurchase in a heartbeat, and the things that, if I had to narrow it down, when so many people have said to me, you know, if I'm going to buy only one, these would be the things in those categories. So hopefully that's useful for those of you that have had those questions and want to know that base category favourites from me. I will be back with, I've got eyes and lips, then I've got kind of like oddball stuff like nails and hair and skincare and all stuff like that, but not really enough in individual categories to make full videos. So I think there's going to be like a fourth other video. But if there's anything specific you'd like me to talk about, let me know and I'll try and encompass that. I don't know, I've been filming for too long today. I'll try and include that in a future video, as well as I'm going to be doing some kind of YouTuber special. I want to do a Netflix special, or Kai-Flick special of YouTubers, and just other stuff that I've been enjoying in the past year as well, because it's gone in the blink of an eye, and I kind of want to reminisce a little bit and it not to be 2016 yet. I'm not quite ready. It's just over a month till we go away and I can't even believe it. I love the anticipation of a holiday, and I'm almost like, I want to put it back another month because it's going to be here and gone before I know it, and I don't want it to be. I'm already upset that I'm not on holiday anymore and I've not even gone yet. What a pessimist. Anyway, I'm gonna go now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys on New Year's Day with my resolutions and plans for 2016. Bye!